It might help if I go ahead and put that stuff already on the screen. Welcome to episode 30 of Lines on a Page. And my name is Thomas Price. I will be your host for tonight, as with all previous episodes. Yes, episode 30, we're doing the Rocketeer. This is a character that I basically fell in love with ever since I first saw the movie, which weirdly enough is actually a Disney film, and which you can also watch on Disney Plus if you haven't had a chance yet. It's one of the underrated hidden gems of 90s live action Disney movies. Um, so before we get into anything and everything, let's do some quick housekeeping. Haven Comics is located at 1871 Slaughter Road in Madison, Alabama. And please remember to like and subscribe if you haven't already done that. If you like, subscribe, comment, share, clicking the bell notification, whatever, that helps us out immensely. And if you're wanting to know where you can find me on social media, you can find me at tpriceartworks, and basically find me anywhere and everywhere, including on Patreon as well. Yes, please. Definitely smash that like button. All right, the Rocketeer. So weird thing is that the comic itself, if I remember correctly, has been around since 87, 89. I think that's when it first started. And it was created by a artist by the name of Dave Stevens. Stevens actually cut his teeth being basically, well, first and foremost, a pinup artist, and also doing a lot of graphic design stuff as well. But uh, the job that he normally got was doing a lot of pinup art, good girl art, and if any independent company was wanting a really awesome cover during that time period, chances are, if you wanted to sell, hire Dave Stevens, and the man did the job. Uh, Possibly one of my favorite ones actually wasn't really even a pen of art. It's actually a cover for Johnny Quest, all things. Um, in the late 80s, Stevens actually created basically a modern day pulp hero, uh, definitely following within the vein, the footsteps of characters like Indiana Jones, and with he ended up creating the Rocketeer, and it's actually set in 1938 Los Angeles, involving crack pilot Cliff Seaboard, and him trying to, I guess, it almost kind of comes off as a Peter Parker-ish kind of character. Tries to do the right thing. Sometimes it doesn't always go the way that he wants it to. And you do see that off and on within just various different things that was going on. And of course, very much like Indiana Jones, he is having to not only battle mobsters, but also gangsters, sorry, not gangsters, Nazis as well. Which, if you've ever watched the live action film, uh, perfectly casted using Timothy Dalton as the Nazi spy, who was also acting as a Hollywood actor by the name of Nelson Sinclair, who he's supposed to be like this Errol Flynn kind of character. And one of the biggest differences between the comic and the movie is Cliff Seaboard's girlfriend. In the comic, it's actually Betty, as in Betty Page. That page. Because Disney did not want to pay the rights to use Betty Page's name, or even hiring an actress to look like her, they decided to change the name of the girlfriend. So you got her name is Jenny Blake, I believe that's her last name, and they ended up hiring the actress Jennifer Connelly. Weird thing is that so the movie came out in 1991, had a lot of press, a lot of publication about it, and apparently the box office sales did well on the first week and then just kind of tanked or something. I'm really not sure why it didn't work the way that it did, but uh, it went, through the theaters, went to home release. Weird thing is that that film has kind of been considered within the last 20 years a cult classic. Um, and like I said, it is one of those underrated live action 90s Disney gems, which the other two that I can just name off is going to be Iron Will and also Cool Runnings. Now, all of that stuff aside, um, we are going to be drawing the Rocketeer, and we did not read the description of what we're going to be doing today. So a couple years ago, I actually did a thumbnail sketch that was literally about this big, and it got blown up um, to fit the size of this page for my sketchbook. Between the lines. If you haven't bought it, there are physical copies over at Haven Comics. But we're basically going to be taking this thumbnail and we're going to be applying it to this, and we're going to be focusing on basically just making the pencils as high as possible and throwing on some inks. And we're going to be inking things traditionally as well. So mostly with brush, and of course, we're going to be going over with pens as well. So that's going to be the main reference. I do have a couple of things saved off on the side just for specific things, which, speaking of comics and drawings and stuff like that, there is a Rocketeer one-shot special that came out through IDW this week, well, technically last week. So if you have not picked up a copy of this, highly recommend doing so. If you've never read the Rocketeer comic, highly recommend getting the trade for it. But if you want to get this, which the cover is done by Adam Hughes, and he also has done 8 to 10 pages worth of a story in here. It's really awesome. I don't know the artist who did the second story, but there is a interesting cameo of a specific 80s character set in the same time period of 1938. So if you know who it is, hats off to you. And of course, the last story, which is really short, done by Jay Lee, which he's been doing a lot of the covers for the Disney villain stuff through Dynamite as of late. So if you'd like to get one of those, last I checked, we just ran out of them this weekend. So be sure to message us. Ask if you want to special order that so we can put it in your pull box. And we'll do that for you. So, moving on. All right, so we're going to be drawing Cliff and Betty, and we're going to try to make this a little bit bigger, but almost the same feel and size and all of that. So might have to scoot them over just a little bit. So I wanted to do, when I was sketching this out, it was one of a couple different things that I had ideas for. Uh, just for, bigger pieces, maybe a print. And wanted to capture just the things that I just really loved about this character, and I just felt like it was a fun one to do. So, something that we will probably be talking about as far as just putting this piece together is that something that is pretty noticeable when it comes to comic artists is when we're dealing with characters that happen to have on helmets, it's better to make the helmet uh, slightly bigger than how you would normally draw a head. Because it makes sense, it's going to be fitting on top of it. Um, but can't tell you how many times, uh, you know, someone would be drawing a specific size helmet or mask and it just ends up not being the same size and shape of actually would probably end up looking smaller than the actual head itself. Right, so that's their recap. We're going to be also doing some splatter effect, maybe a little bit of a negative space. Uh, it's kind of have things kind of melding in within the background. So smorgasbord of different things. And I have to change this just a bit. All right. So the pistol that he has is a uh, it is a German pistol. I don't remember exactly um, the name of it or whether or not if it was part of one of the many different um, guns made by a German company called Luger. Um, if anyone happens to know in the chat, just go ahead and drop that in there. All right. Now we're going to double check on the helmets. All right, so the helmet itself has a super distinct shape. It is very Art Deco in its design and, of course, fits in with the time period. And the interesting part is that a lot of artists during you know that moment of the early to mid 90s, if they weren't messing around with Art Nouveau, then they were definitely messing around with Art Deco, and it comes off pretty well. Uh, so perfect examples of guys who know this aside from Dave Stevens. Uh, you have Adam Hughes, Terry Dodson, Travis Charest did for a couple of things. Joe Quesada uh, did some of this stuff when he was doing Ninjak. And uh, Tony Harris. I saw some of that when he was doing Starman and little bits and pieces of that in Overgeist, not much. Normally, a lot of people, whenever they are drawing the Rocketeer, always have very, I guess, almost a fear of drawing the head almost, head on, or at least maybe at a 3/4 angle. Because generally, you would always see the head from a side view, and most of it has to do with the fin, and it makes sense. Actually, going to move that over just a little bit. So, like I said earlier, trying to make the pencils as tight as possible because I'm going to be doing a lot of traditional inking. All right, so that's there. Uh, there are two different ways you can do the collar. Some people like having a little bit of the neck showing. Other people have the collar almost completely, I guess, button up or whatever. So I guess the choice is yours. If you really want to sit and nitpick about that, I generally like to do a little bit of the neck showing, and we have the iconic looking jackets. Sure, I get this one correctly. So the jacket has this really interesting, almost looks like a bellhop, because it's got, buttons basically in a specific uniform way. But then it goes down just a little bit near the front. And then the belt kind of goes, yeah. Belt is there, and then this part of the jacket. And of course, the super iconic aviation pants of the time. Basically, looks like a parachute. This part's going to get a little interesting. All right, so get that number. Let's get that. Then when it gets to the knees, it's a little bit more skin tight. And of course, leather boots. Start erasing some of this. Try to clean up some of these lines before we start adding in some detail. so we have that, and then leading up to shoulder straps. Hey, boy, I can't stay around for long, so I see how this one's. Thanks, Damon. Which, by the way, if you guys don't know, Damon actually went ahead and asked for this to be a commission for him. So uh, this is what we're doing live, and just happened to have coincided, thoughts aligning, all that fun stuff. All right, so we've got on. So I know that I keep erasing and going over this arm socket. And like I stated with last the couple of shows, is basically, the same concept of, measuring twice and cutting once. Um, so would rather make sure that got the idea down before actually committing. All right, so feel a little bit more confident about this. So I'm going to be getting rid of a lot of these excess lines, and then we're going to start working on the jackets. All right, so he has on black leather gloves. Of course, the gun is also black as well. Now, the leather jacket is actually brown, but because we're doing this in black and white, we're obviously going to be leaving that primarily white, but we are going to be putting in some areas where shading is going to be in. No, because he's got Betty basically just kind of uh, pretty close to him, and she's bent back. However, part of her body is also leaning right into him. So the bottom half of the abdomen area is going to be sticking out more, whereas the top part of Betty's chest will actually be kind of overlapping in that area. So it's not all him completely there. So how we're going to be doing that is so we've got this here, and of course, our head's right there. And chest area is going to be roughly in this square. And then, of course, her left shoulder is going to be right here. So it stands to reason that this is going to be start of her back. And of course, his hand's going to be down here over by the waist. And then this is where we bring in the other part of his leather jacket. Now, when it gets to the whole shoulder situation, his left shoulder is actually going to be further behind because, like I said, it's going to be going around, and his hand's going to be right here. So her shoulder is going to be up just a bit because it's going to kind of give off the idea that her arm is basically going around his waist as well, but not completely there. Now, if you're wondering, why I kind of chose this kind of top, well, she wears a similar top several times throughout the comic series. It's also pretty period accurate for late 30s. And of course, if you need any more proof, you look at the cover because she's basically wearing practically the same kind of top. So, or the style of top. All right, so the top part of his hand is going to be right here. And then we're basically kind of giving off the illusion of a little bit of a less is more kind of situation, but it's more so the illusion of giving the idea of depth. Um, so we're not going to see all fingers right here, but we are going to be seeing parts of the fingers because it's kind of giving off the idea that hand is trying to reach over. You get the idea. It's the same thing, the same kind of concept when drawing a fist. So we've got forefinger, middle finger, ring, and pinky. But with the ring and pinky, we are actually going to be seeing a little bit more of it. And we're going to move the head down just a little bit because our collarbone is going to be right here. And I really don't want to show much of her neck because it's almost like her head is cranked a little bit forward, almost kind of like if you were looking down. So you're not really going to be seeing much in the neck anyways. And of course, the black of her hair is going to be uh, going over this way as well. Now, something that I probably should have mentioned but never really talked about much is whenever we're dealing with elbows with the arm, and this is going to be a perfect example right here. Um, Generally, when we're thinking about, uh, you know, just with the arm being put together, when drawing it, there's not really, it's not totally symmetrical. It's almost kind of like looking at a chain link, basically, because this part right here would be like a circle. Uh, the top part where the bicep is going to be the link if we're looking at it from a side, and then of course the forearm area is going to be again another circle. So it kind of gets that kind of idea going on. Uh, so when we're looking at the arm right here, so the elbow is going to be right here, and the inside of the arm right here, and the bicep is right here. So we do have almost a little bit of an L shape on either side, but the area over here where the elbow is going to be right behind this is going to be actually just a little bit lower than the inside crease between the bicep and the forearm because it's not 100% straight. Um, it is a bit at an angle because a 90, sorry, a flat, what is it, a 180 is going to be like this. And this is basically, I don't know, 160 or something like that. I don't know. I don't have a protractor on me right now, so I can't really tell you. All right, so that's there, and then that's basically going to be the really short sleeve up the top. All right. And of course, it wouldn't be Betty Page if she didn't have some long fingernails. Lift the thumb a little bit out. All right, so that's there. And then, of course, some folds, and that's where the top ends, and then the pencil skirt or poodle skirt begins. Actually, it might actually just be a pencil skirt because I don't think poodle skirts didn't really exist until the 40s leading into the 50s. So, all right. I quickly go back here to the jacket just to finish this off real quick. So we've got the, actually not, sorry. It's leading into the mask, not away from the mask. There and right there. And let's see, how many buttons is it? 5 across. Looks like it's 5 across. Yep. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And looks like it's 6 down. I feel like I'm doing a crossword puzzle. All right. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. And we add in the other buttons. It's this. All right. So that is there. And then we're going to move quickly to the rocket pack. So we're mostly going to be seeing um, pack on this side, just a little bit over here. Bring this down. It's got a little bit of a curve. It's that okay. Then we've got the exhaust ports. All right, so we got that idea down. Then we're going to move over to Betty's face. Now, we could spend all day long and try to do a whole likeness kind of scenario. Not really focused on doing that. Uh, Maybe for content for another day. But I think it's we're going to be focusing a little bit more on the fact of, you know, an approximation more than anything else. And just to be on the safe side, I'm going to move this button down here and that be a little bit further up. All right, so per usual, a little bit different than how I was doing the mask, but we're going to be going back to the usual mapping format of just having the one y-axis and three x-axis. Now we really won't see your eyebrows because the bangs are basically kind of going over it. Ow. Uh, but you will be looking at her eyes, and they're going to be a bit on the wide side because I think the idea that I was having for the thumbnail was just, you know, find the moment, surprised, what have you. Which I think is just a trademark look for Paige whenever she was doing photo shoots. right, so we're going to have our bangs. Just want to lower this part here. But we're going to have the bangs kind of cut across right about here. You know, there will probably be that purist is going to be like, well, that's longer than how she normally has her bangs. Yes, you're typically right, but I'm just following off of the thumbnail that I'm working with and doing it just a little bit differently. Let's see here. Bryce, hey, what's up? Bill, good to see you. So, even though she technically has slightly straight-ish bangs, the hair itself is actually kind of wavy. So we're going to be doing a little bit of that. I'm going to move this down just a little bit towards me so I'm not crane my head too much. Okay. And then we're going to be dropping in quick highlight for the hair. And going to be marking off the rest of it. And it's almost kind of like um, what was I thinking of? Layers of stucco. This is a really bad example, but um, or loads of ribbons would be another better example, probably. And I'm putting these X's in so that I remember that that's where I'm going to be dropping in the black. And we won't forget. All right, so the top is going to be white and the skirt is more likely going to be black. All right, and we're going to be moving down to the skirt. And let's see here. I think I believe I want to leave it close to about knee length. Erase this. Oops. All right, so uh, not to make it sound like I'm Rob Liefeld or anything, but we're actually going to be avoiding drawing feet for once. Um, and we're actually going to be using a bit of a smoke effect. And yes, you are on camera. Oh. All right, see ya. That was Justin, everyone. All right, and let's see. I'm gonna have another section of smoke or haze back around here as well. Because this back area is going to be in black, and we're going to try to make it meld in with stuff that's happening in the forefront. And fix this. All right, so now we're going to start putting in the areas that we're going to be putting in the areas that are going to be considered as the areas that are going to be black. In this case, when we're going to be dealing with leather, which can be pretty difficult. A lot of people will just completely brush over it and they will try to make it look like basically almost like latex. Um, and leather actually does have texture, depending on the material. which, we're dealing with good old rawhide. There is going to be some weathering. There's going to be some sort of texture to it. So to give it off that good old rawhide kind of look, we're going to be blacking in some stuff that's going to be considered black. So we're going to start right here with the gun, and then we're going to start moving our pencil towards this way, towards Betty. So we're going to be seeing a section of the barrel on the inside of it. And then a line straight in. And line down here, the shape of the magazine. Then we're going to leave this part completely open. That's going to be the tip of the forefinger because it's in the trigger guard. And actually, I think I've got that magazine for this a little bit too long. Right, so that's their thumb. And I'm going to mark that as an X. Now, like the tip of the finger through the trigger, these parts of the hand are going to be open and exposed towards, whatever lights or whatever. Plus, we don't want it blending in too much within the black, so it's going to remain white, whereas the other, I guess, the top parts of the fingers, which are curled in, are going to be black. So X on those. Thumb is right here. Then X that. Right. So that's one part down. Now we've got inside the jacket. So it's almost like scribbling in some triangles. Maybe different kind of triangle. And then maybe something that could be considered as rhombus. All right, so it's another section down. Now, mostly when you're dealing with a lot of leather jackets, especially if it's a period piece, there's going to be, um, so in this case, this part right here with the lapel and all that sort of stuff, there is going to be a little bit of a stitch work that almost has kind of brim or trim to it, but it's actually just the leather folded over and it's been stitched in. Bree left talked me out of picking up the last. I hope not. As I was saying at the beginning of it, if you haven't picked it up, which we have just now run out of it, just tell Josh we can try to order in some more. We'll stick one in your box. All right, so now we've got the area over here with the collar. And then we start dealing with the trim of the lapel. There is right with the ankle. Yep, right. Now, there are many different ways to render stuff. You know, you can do it with hatching. I'm creating these shapes basically so my mind is able to remember what it is and how I'm going to be putting it in together. All right, so that is a super quick but yet effective way of creating leather texture. Now, how are we going to differentiate this from the leather straps leading up to the rocket? And, great question. So, whereas all this is very angular, it's going to be bits and pieces of super sketchy and not so sketchy. We're actually going to be taking this in and X that just a little bit, and we're going to be hatching this in or feathering. That works too. Now, this section of exhaust port, this is going to be kind of an interesting part because it's going to be slightly white against all the black, just a little bit of a shading to give off the idea that it's chrome. And then going to be this and that. We're going to X this in because that's going to be black. And we're going to be blacking that part in. Then we're going to be dealing with the helmet. Now, the helmet itself is kind of a brass color or brass metal-ish kind of look. With the exception of the ports in the eyes and the mouth area. Eyes are practically tinted glass, so we're going to be doing something a little bit strange, but it makes sense. So I'm going to black this part in, then the eraser. It's almost like we're giving it eyes. And I think last but not least is going to be how we're going to be putting in the render or the metal of the helmets. And that part is fairly easy. So we're going to be basically just kind of hatching this part in. That right there. Just kind of gives off the idea that there is some sort of metallic shine of some sort. All right. And of course, shine coming off of the leather boots. Done that quickly. All right. So last but not least is going to be Betty's dress. So we're going to have to differentiate that from the blackness of the background. So how we're going to be doing this is kind of contouring over this area right here. Then creating a little bit of a contoured line right there. And then just hatching that in. X marks the spot. There you have it. Let's see if there's anything else I'm not thinking. I think that practically gets it. Uh, the only really other big thing that we have to just kind of keep an eye out for is the fact of because we're going to be having in, the blackness in the background and Betty's hair is also black. We're going to be mixing in a little bit of white in post. Uh, so if any black just happens to be going over that area, we just easily fix that with white in post. And by white, I mean white ink. And yeah, technically an easy fix. So now we're going to get to the inking. So, like I said, we're going to be doing things traditionally with inking, and be sure to have disposable cup, or if you use like an old mug or something like that, just make sure there's no cracks in it because you're going to be putting in water and then of course ink as well. And we're going to quickly put in the black of the background. I'm going to move my sketch. Now, always make sure that you have paper towels just in standby because you never know whenever you're inking. But it always helps to, just have that little extra security. And I'm using, it's around 7, around 6. Uh, just to fill in these bigger parts. I do have an extra bottle of ink on hand because I think this one's about to be finished. but I'm also going to be leaving in enough of a small gap that I can go over certain areas with more, with the microns uh, or pins, I should say, so that I'm not completely shooting myself in the foot. Now, the best part about having brush is that you get to do really awesome dry brush effects. So, as you can see right here, the ink's starting to dry up just a little bit. So we'll be adding in some effects within the cloud area once the ink's starting to do its thing. So there we go. Go ahead and put some of this down here already. Okay. Back to filling in. Now you can also use stuff like a sponge or a folded up paper towel and just quickly dipping a part of it with the ink just to cover over an area. Or, you can do like what I've done with a lot of times and use a really wide marker of some sort, Sharpie or Faber-Castell also has a really giant pen that you can also use. Ah, great question, Bill. When do the line weight classes begin? I'm thinking we'll probably do that for next week's video because I feel like that would be a perfect time to talk about line weight, its importance, its function. So this part, if you're a very impatient person, will come off as extremely tedious, but it is necessary, especially if you're trying to be an inker or you're having to do pencil and ink or a commission piece or something. That keeps hitting my phone because I'm wanting to just do what I normally do and just kind of be slightly hunched over and really just kind of immerse myself in what I'm doing. But I can't do that. Now, even though when you start dealing with brushes, round six and round sevens are great for filling in really big areas, or you're having to make a really big wide line. Uh, but you do have to be careful about how wide of a line that you're having to do. You're when I'm talking about stuff regarding round six, round seven, all that sort of stuff, is the size of the brush. Generally, whenever inkers are making small to medium lines, they're usually using either a round two or a round three. Um, Generally using uh, a Winsor Newton, which this brush just happens to be one. Um, but generally use a Winsor Newton uh, Kolinsky Sable brush, which was considered the industry standard. And you used to be able to get them for cheap, and now not so much anymore. Just one of those, either off of Amazon or buying through like Blick or Michaels, is like 30 to 40 bucks. Um, so it's absolute insanity. But the one that I currently have, even though it is a Winsor Newton, it's actually a watercolor brush, and seems to be doing the job just fine. Does what I wanted to do, which is to hold the ink and for me to be able to put it down on the page. So I'm moving the paper around, for those of you who don't know, partly just so I can get a better angle, but it's also easier to ink towards you than it is inking away from you. And I think just for the sake of not making things complicated, I'm going to basically have the smoke effect go up towards her hair so I can keep the hair black so I'm not having to use too much of this, but still get the point across. So that is what I'm going to do. And all is well in the world. So, as I said, it does take a while. And of course, ink will want to curl uh, the paper, especially with Bristol and comic art board. So don't freak out if that ends up actually being the case with whatever it is that you're working on. It will do it. And I think to be on the safe side, to get another piece of tape. All right, so get some of this dry brushing in. Okay, so all the massive areas of black are done first. Quickly clean out the brush. I have no idea if that's coming in through the microphone or not. I think it's mildly hilarious. All right. Dry that off. Then we're going to be switching over. And we're going to be using smaller brush for smaller black areas. The crazy part is that all the inking that was done, the Rocketeer comic was all done by brush. Which, to be fair, a lot of stuff that was inked during that time period was done with a brush. But with just the magnitude of Dave Stevens' line work, that's just something else. just basically going over every single spot that we had originally mapped out. Even though this can be recreated with just, any run-of-the-mill multi-liner type pen, just doing it with a brush just creates more of an organic texture. Let's see here. Am I picking up Void Rivals? Premise sounds really good. Uh, so I probably won't put it on my pull list just yet. I do want to read the first issue. I'm not sure if we're going to be getting an advanced reader copy of it or not. Um, but that is something that I do want to read. Generally because I kind of know some stuff that's happening behind the scenes. Um, so that is part of that. We'll say this though. I am going to have to go over my pull list and see what it is that I'm going to continue on keeping and what I'm going to let go. I'm definitely going to be reading the first issue, the first issue to A Fire and Ice just to see how it goes. Partly because it's not Opus that's doing it; it's actually Dynamite. So I'm kind of don't want to really say that I'm hesitant, but because they've done such a good job with Death Dealer, and I'm assuming they're doing a good job with Dawn Attack. I haven't read any of it, but so far Death Dealer has been quite well. So it's just interesting that there's another company that's putting out a Verzetta comic. Just kind of want to see how they do first. Um, Still need to catch up with the issues of Death Dealer that I currently have. So a little bit behind on that. I need to catch up with the last two issues of Wildcats. Just to see if I'm going to continue on having that in my pull list. Which I think the only thing Big Two related that I even have on my pull list right now is going to be this new run of Wonder Woman. And that's partly because Tom King is going to be writing that, which I've seen the 3 or 4 pages that have been shared on social media. Looks fantastic. Not sure the name of the artist. Um, hey, can you draw a stick man on your hand? That's a good question. There's the stick man. It's on my hand. Crazy, crazy people. Um, but yeah, I think this new run of Wonder Woman is going to be quite interesting. So can't wait to see that. Um, I think most of the stuff that I have in my pull list is mostly independent stuff. I am quite excited about the new Conan the Barbarian run. I'm super lucky to have been able to have picked up a copy. Love you too. um, but yeah, I was super fortunate to be able to pick up a copy of issue 0 during Free Comic Book Day, and the artwork is beautiful. It's probably closest thing to the original Savage Tales of Conan that came out during John Buscema's time. So that was basically the original run. And Jim Zub, the writing on that issue was just fantastic. And Jim Zub is not the guy who is writing ASM. That's Zeb Wells, completely different person. So before someone starts saying something that isn't who it is. Just want to create that clarification. Just realized that we have entered the 2 hour mark. The best part is that the vast majority of this is actually done. The only thing that is really needing to be finished with is just final lines here and there. And it's basically just going to help tie everything together. And of course, a little bit of white ink or some special effect. Right. We're going to quickly move to pens. And we're basically in the home stretch. Right. Let's see. Moving on to Right. So basically, I just used a size 10 micron for most of the outline stuff. I'm just going in a size 1. I'll be going over that part with black. right. And forget the eyelashes. Okay, so last but not least, working on some of these little clouds, happy little clouds, sad little clouds. I don't know. It's particle effect. Who do you think I am, Bob Ross? All right. All right. Last but not least, particle effects. And this is going to be kind of the messiest thing, but since it's only going to be over a couple of areas here and there, it shouldn't be that much of a giant ordeal. So, like always, wearing disposable latex gloves generally helps do the trick so that you're not really having to wash your hands afterwards. But the results gratifying. And like always, like I said earlier, with all things regarding inking, make sure that you have paper towels just in case. I have my hand cupped out like this simply because just trying to shield where it's going to go. Theoretically, at least. End up with a little glob like this out of nowhere. That's all right. We can work around it. There we have it, ladies and gents. The Rocketeer. And of course, for always, sign your work. So, want to give special thanks to Damon for purchasing this piece beforehand. Uh, you bro. So there we have it, Rocketeer. Of course, after I let the ink finally dry, I'll go over some of the areas, try to get rid of some of the pencil work in the background. But we are done. I want to thank every single one of you that happened to have chimed in today, have asked me questions, or asked me to draw stick figures on my hands. Uh, but yeah, definitely want to thank you everyone for sitting in so you can see the process of how I went from a thumbnail to a full-fledged, much bigger piece. And especially since it gives me an excuse to do this character. And of course, rightly so, since the one shot had recently had come out. So that definitely helped too. And we're going to end off the day with our closing stuff, closing housekeepings. Haven Comics, located 1871 Slaughter Road, Suite F in Madison, Alabama. And please remember to like and subscribe. Every like, subscribe, uh, comment, share, clicking the bell notifications. I mean, just smash that like and subscribe button. And if you're wondering where you can find me on social media, you just go to my link tree, and you can find me with my handle at tpriceartworks, and that's on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, as well as a very quiet Tumblr, Mastodon, and Hive. I am also on Patreon. I've actually been releasing storyboards for a pitch that I've been working on with a friend of mine for Dark Horse. And hopefully soon we'll also be releasing the line art pages for that as well. And of course, there's a lot of other exclusive things I like to do as well. I also want to give a giant shout out to everyone that happened to have participated last month with Anime 2023. Uh, I do have 3 different pieces that I've got to ship out. But other than that, yeah, totally. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We will be doing another drawing prompt. It's going to be a little bit different, but it will be all 31 days of July. I think there are 31 days of July. Let me double check before I. Yes, there are 31 days in July. Aha, I knew that. Anyways, thank you again. Next week's episode, we will actually be talking about line weights. What is it? What is it useful? And why does it elevate a normal drawing to a drawing? So, that being said, I wish you all a really good night and a good start to the rest of your week. Bye.